Hello, my name is Katrina, and I studied abroad in Stockholm, Sweden during my spring 2018 semester. I'm studying molecular and cellular biology, so I did the MCB LAS program at Stockholm University. I had a great experience, an amazing time, and I'm really excited to share with you my experiences to hopefully encourage you to take chances, maybe study abroad, and do some of the things that I did. The way I'm going to share my experiences with you today is by answering questions that I'm going to pull from this Swedish jar. I actually got this at an amusement park in Sweden. So I'm going to pull out some questions, answer them, and hopefully give you some insight to my study abroad experience. And then the sweatshirt as well I'm wearing because it's Stockholm University's logo. All right, so let's get started. Let me pull out a question. Okay. The first question. What's your cultural background, and how did that background influence or limit your experience or change your views of the culture in Sweden? So a little bit about me, I was born in Lithuania, which is an Eastern European country. So being an immigrant and having gone to Lithuania and Europe several times before, I had already an idea of what Europe and Sweden was going to be like. But I had not been to Sweden yet. So I think I brought that perspective with me, that I had some idea maybe of what the culture might be like in Europe in general, but I didn't know yet exactly what it was going to be like. It actually did help me prepare a lot, though, for going to Sweden. I was ready for the colder climate. I knew how to dress for classes, for example. A lot of people in the United States dress in sweatpants and t-shirts, whereas in Europe, when you go to classes, people usually dress up and you never really wear workout clothes to class. But I think maybe it might have limited me a little bit because I was comparing Lithuania to Stockholm and maybe assuming that it would be the same. But I think for the most part, it really did help prepare me and help me get ready and help me have a understanding of the country a little bit before I got there. Another question. So, what were you surprised about while you were there? How are things different in Sweden than in the US? So, I was surprised actually by a lot of things. One thing was that everyone spoke English really, really well. This is not something I'd expected. I thought there'd be a language barrier, but in the city of Stockholm, everyone spoke English fluently. So I really had no issues there. It did limit me in the way that I didn't really learn any Swedish, except for a few words like hey and tack så mycket. So besides that, though, I didn't really learn too much. I was also really surprised at a really good work-life balance. So in the US, I feel like, people are overworked, always working, students are always studying, where in Sweden and in Stockholm especially, there was almost no one at the library on the weekends. Everyone took their weekends very seriously. Students, kind of relaxed more and had more time for hobbies because their classes were demanding but not impossible. So that was kind of cool. I know that Sweden is under a different government. It's a parliament democracy, so maybe that has something to do with it as well. Let's pull another question. Okay. What would you recommend everyone do in Stockholm? So Stockholm is a really cool city. It's actually built on 13,000 islands. So it's all water. There's a nature side, a city side. I'd say if you're going to go explore Sweden, definitely go when the weather is warmer. So you can go on some boats and some ferries, visit different islands, explore them. Maybe, just get some fika. Fika is a traditional thing that people in Sweden do, is they sit down with someone, have a dessert and some coffee, and they call that fika. So got to get some fika while you're in Stockholm as well. Let's see, another question. How did your perspective change when you got back? I think I didn't have much thoughts coming into Stockholm. I knew that it was a progressive country. I knew that it was going to be, really interesting and different for me, but I didn't have too many thoughts coming in. And I think that I was just pleasantly surprised how good it was. And I also tried to apply a lot of the stress relieving and kind of work-life balance techniques to my own life. So that's another thing I kind of did once I got back. Another question. What was your personal learning goal before you left for studying abroad? So the technical reason that I went to study abroad was to get all of my advanced MCB hours done. So I was in a lab course. So I was doing research in a biology lab for 2.5 months. And then for 2.5 months, I took a biochemical toxicology course. So doing those two things, and they were really interesting, really engaging courses, I was able to complete all of my requirements for advanced MCB hours to graduate. So that was my technical, real reason besides the cultural aspects of going. But I also wanted to challenge myself. I wanted to use all of my resources to do well in my courses. I really wanted to just live a typical Swedish life and kind of interact with the locals. I wanted to just broaden my perspective, get a better understanding of what life is like in Europe, in Sweden, in Stockholm. as well as just learn a lot of new things so that I can apply those things when I get back. And especially since I want to go into medicine and I'm pre-med, I wanted to use the stuff I learned in Sweden and Stockholm to apply that to my MCAT, to apply that, to my applications to medical school, to apply that in medical school later. And I definitely think that I met those goals just by being engaged, interacting with locals, and really, dedicating myself to my classes. So another question. What do you have to say to students thinking about studying abroad? I would tell them to do it because it's really fun. It honestly changes you a lot. Probably one of the hardest things to do when you get back from studying abroad is relating to the people, that didn't change maybe as drastically as you did over the course of the semester. So you'll change a lot. You'll really find out about yourself and you'll challenge yourself. So I think that if you're considering it, really, really think about it. U of I has some really, really great programs out there, so you should take a look. What did you learn while abroad, and how will you apply this to your life specifically? So I think what was really cool for me is that while I was abroad, I took a biochemistry course, and I actually did really well in it. And I know the biochemistry course I'm taking here is very challenging for me, and I'm trying my best to do well in it, but I think it really reassured me that I can do it and to just look at things from a different perspective. So that biochemistry course taught me a lot about myself, my learning style, and really gave me a passion for learning these things. Another really cool thing that I did is meet a lot of lifelong friends. For example, I met 2 Canadian girls within the first week that I was there in Stockholm that were both studying biology as well. We became really, really close, and then I even ended up visiting them last summer in Canada for Canada Day. So that was really cool. I made lifelong friends that I visited. They want to come visit me in Chicago now. So that was another thing that I learned and did while abroad. And I can apply those skills to meeting new people, getting to know them, things like that. Another really cool thing that I did while I was abroad that I really learned about myself was, like I said, because I had more time for work-life balance, I had more time for hobbies, I ran more, I joined a running club, and I even trained and ran a marathon. So it was my first marathon, and I ran that while I was abroad. So that was a really cool thing that I learned, and I can apply that to my life now that, something that I thought that was going to be so impossible, like running a marathon, I did. So I think I can really apply that to my life, that even things that I think are impossible can be done. How did my personal goals change? So I kind of talked about that. I stayed true to my goals, I think, for the most part, but I added more goals, like running a marathon. I didn't think that I would have that as a goal before I left, but it became one, and I did that. So those are kind of personal learning goals that I couldn't have really predicted until I got there, but I'm really glad they happened. So I have one more question from my Swedish container. Would you go back to Stockholm? Yes, definitely. I'm already planning with those girls that I met, the Canadian girls, I'm already planning a trip back there. We're trying to figure out when we can go back because we really loved it. We really enjoyed our experience and we would love to visit again. So those are all my questions. I hope you enjoyed, and I hope that encouraged you to challenge yourself, take the chance, maybe study abroad. If not, just explore different cultures, explore different things, ask yourself questions, reflect on what you're doing, and and you'll learn a lot in the process. So thank you. Goodbye.